There are moments in life that don't just mark time, they carve it. Moments that etch themselves into your memory with such clarity you can feel it in the air, hear the sounds, see the colors. For me, that moment was November 22nd, 1963. I was 6 years old, playing on the sidewalk outside our apartment on Park Boulevard in Marion, Ohio. My world was simple then: chalk drawings, rolling little cars on the sidewalk, scraped knees, the smell of autumn leaves. And then my mother burst through the front door, tears streaming down her face. She told me to come inside. I asked why. She said the president has been shot. It was the first time I saw my mother cry, and something in me changed. That moment, her tears, her voice, the weight in the air, became a kind of emotional anchor. The next 4 days unfolded like a dream. I can't always remember what I had for breakfast, but I still remember those days in November of 1963 with laser-like intensity. I remember my brother Jeff and I wrestling in front of the black and white TV when Lee Harvey Oswald was shot. My dad, sitting on the sofa that Sunday afternoon, missed the moment because we blocked his view. I remember Jackie Kennedy's stoic face at the funeral, the cadence of the drums, the grief that seemed to echo through the television screen and into our living room. That was the beginning of my obsession. Not with conspiracy theories or shadowy cabals, but with understanding, with making peace, with coming to hometown terms with a national tragedy. Over the years, that obsession became a journey, a pilgrimage really. I've traveled to Dallas 3 times. My wife Patty, God bless her, never once complained, though she had every reason to. Her vacation time was often following my sojourns into the past, but she always came with me. She stood beside me as I chased the ghosts of history. I needed to walk the ground myself, to stand on the grassy knoll, to look out from the 6th floor window of the Texas School Book Depository, to walk behind the fence, to stand on the triple overpass and imagine the chaos of that day. I walked the path Oswald took after leaving his rooming house. I stood where Officer Tippit was gunned down. I sat on Oswald's actual bed in his rooming house. I stood in the Ruth Payne house, the very room where he slept the night before he changed history. I held a replica of the Mannlicher Carcano rifle. I stood under those steps where he posed with the rifle. I walked the path to the Texas Theater, stood in the clothing store where Johnny Brewer spotted him, and Patty and I even ate lunch in the Parkland Hospital cafeteria. But more than that, we visited where Kennedy was born in Boston, where he died in Parkland's exam room, and where he was buried at Arlington. We drove to Fort Worth, the hotel where he gave his last speech. We even went to the cemetery where Lee Harvey Oswald is buried. We took the same limousine route through Dealey Plaza. We stood in the garage where Oswald hid the rifle. How many people can say they did all that? I would even question whether we really did all that if not for the scrapbooks and videos that I have in my possession. One scrapbook alone took me over 40 hours to complete, but it was worth every second. Because this wasn't about history, it was about memory, about meaning. At first, I read every conspiracy theory I could find, but eventually, I wanted to know for myself. I wanted to answer the questions that haunted me since my childhood. Why didn't Oswald shoot when the motorcade first turned the corner? Simple. He didn't know which car Kennedy was in. He also didn't know where in the car the president was seated. And maybe, just maybe, he was awed for just a moment. The President of the United States was in his sights. Why did Kennedy go back and to the left? Any hunter will tell you, when a bullet hits, the body often reacts toward the shooter. The bullet entered the back of Kennedy's head. If you look at the Zapruder film, his head definitely went forward first. Then the exit wound blew out the front right, knocking him back and to the left. Why did people hear multiple shots? The Mannlicher Carcano makes a double sound. Bang, bang. Dealey Plaza is an echo chamber. I know, I stood there. Once we heard a firecracker go off, and we couldn't tell where it came from. How did Jack Ruby get to Oswald? The officer assigned to guard the ramp was called away. It only took a few seconds, but that was all that Jack Ruby needed to walk down that runway. I started this journey thinking Oswald had help, and maybe he didn't do it all, but the evidence, it piles up. He was the only employee missing during the roll call. He was assigned to the 6th floor that day, and 3 men on the 5th floor clearly heard the cartridges hit the ground above them. Witnesses saw him at the Tippett scene. He ran. He ducked into a movie theater. He gave a victory fist pump when arrested. And when asked if he shot the president, he said, "No, I have not been charged with that." Now that's not how an innocent man talks. Even his brother Robert believed he was guilty. Through all my searching, the only question I couldn't clearly answer was why. Why did he do it? Why does anyone do what they do? To make their mark, to change history, to go from a nobody to a revolutionary. I may not be an expert, but I am a scholar. I've walked the path. I've stood in the places. I've asked the questions. And I've found peace, not in answers, but in the journey. Seeing the bright red bricks of the Texas Schoolbook Depository after years of black and white textbook photos was a thrill I'll never forget. Walking in the footsteps of history, those were visions I'll always remember. This is the story behind the story. My story. A young boy on a sidewalk in Marion, Ohio, who saw his mother cry for the first time and spent a lifetime trying to understand why. Thanks for walking with me. I hope you found it as fascinating as I did. The echoes of the past are waiting to be heard. My name is Brian Smith, and we are history. Thank you for listening.